Welcome, people. This is volume 3 to my series on lost media in hip hop, where I discuss media in hip hop that no longer exists, is missing, or is no longer available to the general public. This also includes things that are incredibly hard to find and other things of that nature. But like I said in the first volume, lost media is an umbrella term, which by definition is a word or phrase that covers a wide range of concepts belonging to a common category. If you haven't done so yet, then definitely check out the first 2 volumes in this series to get a taste of what this series is going to be about, and just sit back and enjoy, man. If you guys like the content, you guys should like, comment, and subscribe to help the channel grow. I reply to some of the comments, and I love going through them and seeing what you guys think. Also, follow my Instagram too. That would be greatly appreciated. You guys can always reach out to me and just show me some love. It's all good. Also, let me know where you are tuning in from, represent where you're from. Comment down below some lost hip-hop media that you would like me to discuss in upcoming volumes. Without further ado, I give you Lost/Found Rap Media Volume 3. Now, I told myself that I wasn't going to do a video about Cam'ron on my channel for a minute, mainly because I feel like I already have done so many videos on him. But ever since I've done the first volume in this Lost/Found Rap Media series, people have been asking me to clarify what exactly happened to this, what seems to be like mythical old boy remix. Definitely one of the most requested things for me to discuss in this series. But anyways, let's get to the story. So basically, when they were on Rocawear together, they never really got along. Whenever I discuss this, I always note that Jay never held Cam back, because I believe in order to do something, I believe that Cam needed like 6 or 7 signatures, and Jay was one of them, and he always signed off. But things between the two would heat up when this happened. I'll play the clip.
When they first got there, it was a little tricky.
Rocawear gave the Diplomats a label, and we gave State Property a label. But Cam was moving a little quicker than Beans. I told Beans, I'm gonna make you a vice president. Cam, I'm gonna make you a vice president. But the way a boss does, Cam went to the radio, quick, just when we were discussing it, and told the whole world. We hadn't even negotiated it. So now, everybody on the label, I'm talking about everybody, is like, what, I gotta ask them for videos now?
They was Dame friends, so I guess the tension between Jay and Dame came. They was trying to give Cam a vice president position or something like that. And Vito was out of town, so when Vito flew in, he was like, whoa, what's going on? We was cool, like State Property and Dipset got along. We was all coming from the same place, so it wasn't no tension between us.
We always were bosses. Now we on Rocawear. We like, what do you do?
It was like, nah, Dame like a big brother. We going crazy in this shit. You can't tell us no. Who gonna tell us no? We went dumb in Rocawear.
So yeah, that's that side of the story. But to circle back a little bit, Old Boy went on to be a smash hit, reaching number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100. This is what happened when it was time to do the remix.
Fucking Kanye sells us a few beats. We watching the BET Awards. Jay-Z about to perform his new single, and he gets up there, and it's the beat that we brought from Kanye, which will now be H to the Izzo. So now we steaming.
Just Blaze had the beats laying around, so we in the studio every day.
And Just Blaze plays the Old Boy beat.
The Old Boy shit, that was Jay record.
Cam, shut the fuck up. We took that. That was ours. Strong arm. Good looking Just Blaze.
This is what Just Blaze had to say about the song in an interview. There was drama about that song being Jay's originally, and that they stole Jay's beat or whatever. It totally wasn't like that. Originally, the beat was much faster. I made it as an up-tempo record for Bleak, but he turned it down. I reworked it and slowed it down, but he still wasn't really feeling it. Jay walked in and heard it and was like, yo, that's serious. But he wasn't working on the album at the time. He had just finished Blueprint 2, so he was like, hold that for me. There's a million beats like that. Jay said the same thing about Pump It Up. Sometimes he'll hear a beat and like it, but he won't like it a year later when he's making an album. Jay was originally supposed to be on the Old Boy remix, but Cam'ron deleted his verse. Joel Santana, a member of Dipset, had this to say in an interview about the situation. We walked in the studio and Jay said, "I got a surprise for y'all." At this point, we was wondering why he didn't want to jump on records that he could have jumped on already. So old boy is already out of this world, getting probably like 10,000 spins. So we walked up into the studio room and we're like, what's the surprise? And Young Guru pulls up old boy with the Jay-Z verse. On top of the Jay-Z verse, he's dissing Nas. Cam made Guru erase the verse to the point where Cam told Guru, "You better erase that, I don't ever want to hear that." While writing this script, I completely forgot that I made a video on Cam and Jay-Z's beef a while ago, and it covers a good amount of it. I'll put a link in the description, but I think since then I have drastically improved, but that video fills in a lot of the other stuff that was going on regarding the situation. Jay-Z telling an engineer to delete Cam's verse on the original version of Petey Crack's One for Petey Crack, the fiasco behind the Izzo beat. So there's so much more regarding everything, but this is Cam's version of what happened. We stole the beat from Just Blaze. We took it. He didn't want to give it to us. Jewels just convinced me to take the stuff from him. It was a CD in the studio and it was Just Blaze on there, and the dude just was like, "Don't take my beat." And we's like, "We're gonna take your beat." And we took it and put it on the radio and it was hot. Just was actually really mad that we did that. That's my man now though, but he was really mad about that stuff. What's interesting is that in an interview that Just Blaze did, he said producer Young Guru called him and said that Cam was about to hop on the old boy beat, and Just Blaze said go ahead. Before Just Blaze could get back to the studio, Cam had already taken the record to the radio before Just could even hear it. This obviously clashes with Cam's side of the story from the aspect of Cam quote-unquote stealing the song. Just Blaze said that the tension behind the song, at least between him and Cam, was the publishing aspect because Cam rushed to put it on radio and didn't clear the samples and things of that matter. Just Blaze said that Cam told him years ago that he was just worried about being hot and not really thinking about the business aspect of things. Now to revert it back to Jay-Z, I mean, like, Just Blaze said that Jay forgot that Just gave him the beat first and he slept on it and it eventually landed in the hands of Cam. To this day, we've never heard the version of Cam and Jay on Old Boy together. It really makes me wonder how much rap history could have changed if Cam and Jay were actually cool when they were on Rocawear, and if Rocawear didn't implode. We'll probably never hear the original verse Jay-Z had on the Old Boy beat. Ah, man. Good old Ghostface Killah, one of my favorite members from one of my favorite groups of all time, which is Wu-Tang. Towards the late 90s, there was some people feeling like the Wu-Tang was losing steam as a group, and even some individuals within the group. I would say after Wu-Tang Forever, things were definitely different for the group. Number-wise, they still managed to do pretty well, but their solo projects and even group projects after 1997 just didn't have that essence of what Liquid Swords, Only Built for Cupid Links, or Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers had. A lot of people felt like Ghostface was holding the group down with his releases being met with critical acclaim. Ghost released his debut album Iron Man in October of 1996, selling 156,000 copies in its first week while peaking at number 2 on the Billboard 200. It also received 4 mics in the source as well at the time. That's something to note. Ghost would then follow it up with the release of his sophomore project Supreme Clientele, which released in February of 2000, peaking at number 7 on the Billboard 200 while selling 134,000 copies in its first week. This album would receive 4.5 mics from the source, and now it was time for Ghost to release his third solo studio album. By the way, go check out my video I did on Supreme Clientele a while back, which you guys should definitely go check out. Link in the description. The next year in 2001, Ghost would release the album Bulletproof Wallets in November of that year, and as some people may know, the album that we have today wasn't how the project originally was planned. Things like sample clearance issues, label politics, and things like lost sample sources deeply affected the album. Allegedly, the story goes that Ghostface would hand in the album to Epic Records at the beginning of 2001 and was supposed to be a great follow-up to his previous albums Iron Man and Supreme Clientele. However, upon turning in the album, Epic Records ended up switching the track sequencing and deleting tracks like The Sun and The Watch. From what I researched, RZA couldn't find the original record he had sampled for the song The Sun, so that's why that was deleted. It's a shame because the song is actually really great, and I'm about to play a snippet for you guys.
Look at the sun, so pretty today. It's so bright and so smashing, lasting, helps out the grass and smile when it's morning time. Last night I wrote 3 rhymes. I woke up to see the sun shining. God is my witness in scriptures and pictures. The sun kiss scrumptious, sun is nutritious. It makes me wanna climb, take a bite out of shine. This little light of mine. Yo.
In an interview, Ghost said that RZA got high and couldn't find the loop at all and where it was sampled from, so that's why it wasn't on the album. This also ultimately left Slick Rick to not be on the album since he was on the song. The song Flowers ended up having a sample change, and in my opinion, I prefer the older version a lot better. The verses are still the same, but things just seem off with the album version. I don't know about what an average Ghostface fan thinks of Bulletproof Wallets, but I think this album has a Nas I Am situation written all over it. People think both are good, but in comparison to what those two respective albums could have been is insane. The original version of Bulletproof Wallets did get 4.5 mics in the source as well, just a note. Here's a picture of that, and yet it's unfortunate what happened, and tracks like The Sun, The Watch, and the original version of Flowers can be found on the internet. The track listing is where the issue comes in. Now, Ghost is no stranger to having, I would like to say, an off track listing, because he had this same problem with Supreme Clientele, I believe. The track listing on the back of the retail CD originally had a different track list than the actual CD, including songs like The Sun, and clean vinyl promos for radio was also sent out by Epic Records. According to my research, an original track listing of the album has never been properly confirmed, but we do have some of the songs I mentioned earlier. I'll put up a track list of what OG Bulletproof Wallets could have potentially looked like. I've looked around and multiple people have posted the same exact track list. With that said though, I really do want to ask you guys, what do you guys think of Ghostface's run with his first 3 albums? Did he go 3 for 3, or could Bulletproof Wallets had been better if the original version was released? Do you think it would have changed the direction of Ghostface's career or even Wu-Tang's career at that time? It's always something to think about, and I posted that I was going to talk about this album on the community tab on my YouTube page, and I saw that mad people messed with the album, and I remember people calling it a classic and people telling me how it got them through college. I really like the cover to this album though. For some reason, definitely one of my favorite album covers of all time. And I remember seeing it as a kid and seeing like the robe that Ghost had on, and like as a kid, I wanted one day. But in conclusion, like I said, an original track listing of the album has never been properly confirmed, but we do have songs like The Sun, The Watch, and the original version of Flowers. Many people watching this video are probably well aware or know a little something about 50 Cent's story and how he came in the rap game. You might also have lived through how truly crazy it was in 2003 when 50 Cent would drop his classic debut album, Get Rich or Die Tryin'. Truly groundbreaking album, and I think it's near diamond status if it's not already, so give it some more time and it will, but man, it's well deserved, I must say. There was so much history behind this album and a lot of tracks on the album, but today we're talking about the 4th track on the album, Many Men. This was the 3rd single for the album, and the song details 50 Cent being shot 9 times a couple years before this album came out. I really like this song a lot, and you can feel what 50 is saying and feel the emotion. What a lot of people don't know about the history behind this song is that it actually involves Nas, which shouldn't be surprising if you know the backstory behind Nas and 50 Cent's relationship. Digga, who is the producer on the song, had this to say: I created the beat probably 2 or 3 years before it was released on an album. This was around the time we started putting together Dipset. That was actually one of the first tracks we started working on for the first Dipset album. It had Cam, Jim Jones, and Joel Santana on it. We made tracks and it didn't really move, so then I tried to get some tracks to Nas. He was working on his album and the Bravehearts album. He picked 2 tracks and that was one of them. Nas recorded to it in one of the Bravehearts. 50 was in a Nas session and he heard the track and liked it. He got Lenny Nicholson, the A&R at Sony at the time, to give him a copy so he would write to it. I didn't even pay attention to who the artist was at the time. I was focusing on making beats for the Dipset album. It was just finding the sample and trying to make one of the grimiest New York beats possible. I was always thinking of Havoc and Mobb Deep, just being dark. I was intentionally not trying to sample the main parts of records. I heard the final song over the phone. Shaw played it for me over the phone, and then I heard the final in my lawyer's office. It was exactly what I wanted it to be, as far as having that gritty, dirty type feeling. Lenny Nicholson, the former A&R at Sony, had this to say about the record. 50 Cent's song Many Men was a Nas track first. He actually vocaled it. He was developing another artist named Nashawn. He had to massively impress Nas. If Nas started something, he would add his vocal to it and see if Nas would be impressed enough to keep it. Nas didn't finish that track. That was a track that he just fell out of love with. Nicholson, with permission from Nas, then gave the beat to 50 Cent, and the rest is pretty much history. If Nas kept the track, then it most likely would have ended up on his 2002 album, God's Son, in which a lot of people love that album. I asked a question one time of how many classic albums does Nas have and what are they, and I saw God's Son as one of the albums that was in a lot of comments. Imagine God's Son with Nas's take on the beat for Many Men. That could have been crazy. And just imagine Get Rich or Die Tryin' without Many Men. It would still be a classic album, but Many Men definitely adds to it, and who knows, 50 Cent probably could have made a very similar song on another beat. So, I mean, who really knows? Also, this is a bonus fact for you guys, but another record that was originally going to be Nas's was Alicia Keys' Kanye-produced song, You Don't Know My Name. Yeah, tripped me out when I found out. This is what Lenny Nicholson had to say about it. Kanye gave that to me for Nas first. We recorded that in the Bahamas the same day we did Destroy and Rebuild. He went down memory lane. The track gave him that vibe. It was him and Lord in the studio reminiscing about a bunch of things. He did a sing-songy hook to it. It was an excellent record. So in conclusion, maybe Nas's version of both of these songs are out there somewhere, but man, it's been years. I would think people would still want to hear them. I mean, it's Nas, so like, why wouldn't you? But it's really up in the air who would have these songs lying around somewhere, rather knowingly or unknowingly. We know that they exist or existed at one point, but it's very unsure if they'll ever leak or be made public for people to enjoy. This is actually an interesting one that I came across while making this video, and I had no clue about these events that I'm about to talk about, and I had no clue that they ever happened. I think if you're at least a casual hip-hop fan, then you know that Kendrick Lamar and Drake have been in like a cold war when it comes to rap beef or battling. They've exchanged numerous shots at each other over the years, but they've never really went head-to-head on wax like that. I always thought they should have back in the day because I feel like it could have been a career-defining moment for either of them, but we never really got to see it. So the story behind this segment was brought to the light by Marcellus Wiley, a former NFL player, but at this time during these events, he was working for ESPN doing Sports Nation. But according to him, this is how the story goes, and keep in mind, he doesn't name names, but we'll get into that later. But they were filming for the show Sports Nation, which according to Marcellus, at least at this time, sometimes was taped and sometimes they went live. On this particular day, when they did an interview with Kendrick or Drake, it was taped. They were taping the interview, and Marcellus said that he knew something was in the air between Kendrick and Drake, so they asked whatever person that they interviewed, what's up with the beef? All of a sudden, whoever they interviewed started talking crazy. they was talking reckless. And obviously, everybody was kind of shocked by this. Marcellus fully realizes that this actually might be something. So he throws out a follow-up question, and the person they interviewed actually doubled down, and everybody is just in shock at what just happened. Some time goes by and the show is over, and Marcellus says that this is around noon and they would just wait around until the show would go live at 1. Marcellus is walking off set and now is waiting on the show to go live when the bosses come up to Marcellus and probably the other people who were on the crew and said that they couldn't air the interview. That person they interviewed had their camp called them and said that that segment shouldn't be aired, and it puzzled Marcellus because he thought, well, they shouldn't have said what they said, and he questioned if this person would have said it if it was live. Now, Marcellus hasn't said if the person they interviewed was Drake or Kendrick, but if you look at the comments underneath Marcellus's Vlad TV interview on this topic, you'll see a vast majority of people saying that it's Drake. People have connected or attempted to connect the dots with who it was by saying that at this time the segment was shot or was supposed to air, Drake was on a press run. Big Sean dropped his song Control in August of 2013, and many of us watching probably already know that a lot of rappers were mad or had something to say about Kendrick's verse on that song. That's a story for a whole other day, and I've actually considered dedicating a whole video to that one day. But anyways, people also feel like it was Drake because of what he said about the Control verse that Kendrick did. I'm pretty sure Drake has talked about it multiple times, but here's some quotes of some things that he has said about that verse. Kendrick is giving people moments, but are you listening to it now at this point in time? Okay, it was real cool for a couple weeks. If I asked you, for example, how does that verse start? Mind you, it'll go on. Complex and Rap Radar will give it like verse of the millennium and all that stuff or whatever. Then Drake would also continue on and say this in an interview. I know that verse had no malice behind it because I saw him 5 days later at the VMAs and it was all love. He didn't come on there in some wild, I'm in New York, F everybody, don't look at me. It was one of those things I always wished he had come in there on that stuff because I kind of lost a little respect for the sentiment of the verse. If it's really F everybody, then it needs to be F everybody. It can't be halfway for the sake of the people. So like I said a little earlier, people believed Drake was on a press run, and this theory or whatever shouldn't be overlooked because Drake's album Nothing Was the Same did come out a month later after that Control verse, and Nothing Was the Same was dropped in September of 2013. I've never really seen Kendrick on ESPN like that. Now that I think about it, I literally looked up Kendrick Lamar ESPN on YouTube, and all I could find was that he did a performance on ESPN like that same year in 2013, but that was all the way back in March. We do know that Drake has appeared on ESPN multiple, when I say multiple, I mean multiple times. This also brings me to think that this is 2013 Kendrick. This isn't 2021 Kendrick. Do y'all believe Kendrick or TDE had that power to really shut all that down? Or do you really think that they just wanted to just shut it all down? I mean, there's a possibility because Marcellus did say that he thinks that people at ESPN might have thought that this beef was going to go to Tupac and Biggie level, which let's keep it a buck, no, it was not. But I personally don't even think Kendrick would even do that. He literally just took a shot at the whole rap game. And got so much heat. And now he wants an interview taken down because he's wilding out on Drake? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. I'm not saying this to hate on Drake, but I mean all signs just point to him. If it happens to be Kendrick, I would be very surprised, and I would gladly eat my words. But I would be very, 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 very surprised. But I do think that if it was Drake, then Drake realized, oh shoot, if this airs, I'm about to be in a war with Kendrick, and we all know at that point, and even now, Kendrick is definitely favored to win. Y'all know the expression of what people say when somebody drinks some alcohol? They say that they get that liquid courage in them. Like, yo, like right now, like I'm in college, you know what I mean? And there's been a few times, well, a lot of times, I've been out with the boys, and one of my friends might see a girl. She's looking like a dime piece. She's looking like a 10, you know what I mean? And my friend, you know, they might be a little scared to talk to her. But then they get a couple sips of that drink, you know what I mean? And then they think that they can get any girl in the party. Like, that's what I feel like Drake is on. But in this context, I think that ever since Drake bodied Meek, like he thinks that he can take on all challengers and he can just win. But like it doesn't matter if it's 2013 Kendrick, 2014, 2017, 2012, 2011. I still think Drake will lose in a battle. I do want to keep it to the topic at hand though and not get too carried away. But yeah, like that's pretty much the story behind this segment. Marcellus did have this to say about it though. The footage is somewhere at ESPN studio where I used to work. So if y'all want to go get that. So that's out there. I'm going to put that in the book. I finally get the names and I finally say who did what. A lot of people have been asking about that. I don't think Marcellus really revealed what exactly happened in the book he was talking about because obviously there would have been more news about the situation and more articles mentioned in the book. The footage might not actually be quote unquote lost. It's definitely not found, but coming across it will be very, very hard to do if it still exists. The general public will probably never see this segment of Sports Nation, and the mystery behind who they interviewed still remains. I haven't talked much about Eminem on this channel, but when someone in my comment section requested to talk about the lost version of his song Stan, I really started to get intrigued. I'm not a huge Eminem fan. I definitely respect him in his position in the game, but you will rarely catch me bumping his music. But I will say that I love his song Stan. Like, I absolutely love that song. I love how the song is crafted, great story, great everything. But I had no clue about this lost version of the song at all. I was doing some research and I found Eminem made a very lengthy annotation on Genius starting at his third verse on the song. This is what Eminem had to say about the lost version. When we recorded Stan, I worked with a couple different engineers, but this particular engineer I had never worked with before. While we were recording the third verse of Stan, he started rolling a joint and asked me if I minded if he smoked while we cut. What was I gonna do, say no? He was already rolling it up, so I told him no problem. Everything was cool and I had gotten all the way to the last 3 lines and I screwed up. So all he had to do was punch in my vocals at the end so I could redo that line and the verse was finished. Back then, we were recording on 2-inch tape, so once you recorded over something, it's gone forever. So I'm in the booth waiting and he backs the tape all the way to the beginning of the verse and punches me in. I realize he's in the wrong spot and I can't hear any of my vocals. So I started waving my hands and yelling in the mic to try to get his attention. He doesn't notice. So I run into the control room through a cloud of smoke and yell, yo, I wanted to keep those vocals. He just looked at me and said, my bad, man, you want to hit this? The first half of the verse was gone. I re-recorded it, but you should have heard the original take. That stuff was way better. Just imagine that. An already great song being even better if it wasn't for that dang engineer. There was also supposed to be another verse on the song, and this is Eminem explaining what would have happened.
There was a verse where he got out of the water. You know, he escaped and then came to my house to kill me. And then I had to kill him first. And then I missed him. And he was in the hospital for like 3 weeks. And then he was pissed off that I didn't write him get well cards and shit like that. So he came to kill me again. And in the last verse, finally, I just blew his head off.
With that being said, this original version of Stan is lost forever. The record still went on to do very, very well. And it honestly aged like wine. Chief Keef, definitely one of the most influential artists of this newer generation in rap, and he did so at a very, very, very early age and actually went on to inspire people older than him. Chief Keef is still putting out great music and he makes it seem just so effortless all the time. I hate when people say that he fell off, But it's mainly because people say that because he's not signed to a major anymore, but he definitely has very loyal fans and he's still very much relevant and his music still puts up numbers. But today we're talking about an unreleased track from what many people would call Chief Keef's prime. This track is probably one of, if not the most sought after unreleased songs Chief Keef has in his discography. And people still to this day still yearn for it to be released. I actually originally wasn't even going to put this segment in the video, but I got recommended the low quality version on YouTube and I clicked on it because I never heard it up until that point. And then upon reading the comments, I got intrigued with the story behind the song. I fully understand why people love and have a connection with this song. I love the beat and how Chief Keef flows on the track, and now I really want to hear a CDQ version of the song, but we'll get into that fiasco in a bit. For those who haven't heard the song, I'll play it for you right now. Now this probably has to be one of the most confusing things I have ever researched and made content on. The whole timeline for this track is just really weird and there's just so much hearsay. People claims it still exists while others, including Chief Keef, has said that it's lost forever, just like a lot of songs from 2013 to 2014. While I was doing research for this video, while listening to Dorito Days on repeat, I came across an interesting comment which got a lot of likes and nobody who replied really went against what was said. The comment goes, Dorito Days still exists, confirmed by Choppa, and it's supposedly an unfinished MP3 hook verse, then hook as confirmed by Uthinned on Reddit. All his old 2013-2014 songs still exist according to reliable sources. His old homies in Chicago and the people that used to F with GBE got these songs cause Keef used to burn CDs of Unreleased and share them with his homies. Plus he also sent music to them through various emails. Keef has even said that he got family that got old computers and old homies with unreleased songs. We know someone has his old Mac drive from 2013 with all the songs, probably his cousin, but they all exist through emails too. Whoever still has emails with the song files attached has the songs. Now the people that have all his 2013 music sell them and share them with leakers, which led to unreleased songs getting scattered around the world with various people. The only reason they are lost to Keef is because he doesn't have them, others do. Whoever has Dorito Days knows that even a little CDQ snippet would cause hella buzz for the full thing. This is interesting and I will say it kind of makes sense from first glance, especially it being lost to Chief Keef but not other people. Then there's this thing of the laptop the song is on, including a lot of other sought after songs were taken by the Chicago police. I've also seen comments about how he found most of the songs except for Dorito Days, which is just like, wow, like that's just wow. But there's a video of a fan asking Chief Keef about Dorito Days and this is what he had to say about it.
Bro, hey, is Dorito Days on your phone? Bro, please don't
That's not, man, that shit, I gotta have to get the beat on and redo that song.
Bro,
that's one song that's really lost.
Yeah,
that was made on my first house in Chicago, so that shit really gonna pop. I got shit from Highland Park House. You know what that is? Look it up. Highland Park. Look at that house. I got shit from that house.
Chief Keef talks very low in the video, but if you didn't hear, basically Chief Keef said he has to redo that song and says that's one song that's really lost. It's interesting because we actually do have an official instrumental for the song, which sounds heavenly, by the way. Really vintage Chief Keef sound and beat from his prime, but the problem is if Chief Keef redoes the song, then it definitely won't sound like the version most people are used to and have listened to for years. This is 2021 and not 2013-2014 Chief Keef, so his voice sounds way different and he has changed a lot since then. I would still be up to listen to a newer version, and I mean, like, there are lyrics from the song floating around too. He has the beat, the lyrics. I mean, what more can you ask for? Longtime fans would deeply appreciate it, and throughout the years, this song has been teased and teased. I wish I knew more about unreleased Chief Keef songs and their history, because before Dorito Days, I think that the only like unreleased songs that I really used to bump by Keef was Lola Bunny. Like, I think that that's probably it. But thanks to Dorito Days, I did discover another highly sought after track from Chief Keef's unreleased discography, and it's Low Life. Not gonna lie, I think I prefer Low Life over Dorito Days, only like a tad bit. Like, yo, Low Life, crazy. Yo, but here's a small clip of Low Life just to know what I'm talking about.
They say I don't speak English, I speak that whole black shit. See how I'm triple go like this. See the cops don't go like this. And you told they always wondering why we rich, but we roll like this. Up in a ball like this, no minutes to the mob, there's no light switch. I'm smoking on this truck, nigga, got me flown on the floor like this. But they used to be that old like bitch.
Both are great in their own rights, and man, Prime Chief Keef was something else, and Keef is already a legend, man. He's only 26 and has already done so much. If you know more about Dorito Days or anything else I talked about in the video, let me know in the comment section below. Who knows, maybe someday I'll talk about another unreleased Chief Keef track if there's enough history behind it. In conclusion, we had to beat a low quality version of Dorito Days and lyrics. Chief Keef could remake the song, but time will tell if that actually happens. Will we ever get a CD quality version of the song? I will personally say I don't know. Maybe it will turn up one day if Chief Keef doesn't remake it, but we'll never know. For now, the official CD quality version of the song is lost.